A gracious good day to one and all, once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. Back with you all once again for episode 82 of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. Today is June 29, 2020. It is our 104th day under COVID-19 restrictions. And as we do every Monday, we get caught up from the weekend. That's what we call it, Catch-Up Day. And if you did not see Saturday's wonderful Pride episode with our special guest star, the Countess Lola Montez of Lansfeld, well, look right below. It's the next one down. So check it out. It was a hoot. Woo. Well, let's get on with our national days, as we always do to begin. We'll start, as with all these, of course, with June 27th. It was National Sunglasses Day. You know, I wear my sunglasses at night. Decide to be Married Day. National HIV Testing Day. National Orange Blossom Day. And International Scoliosis Awareness Day. As someone who suffers from that condition, we are all in favor of making people more aware of it. National PTSD Awareness Day. That's a very important thing these days. June 28th, National Tapioca Day. My, how tapioca has made a big comeback in those boba drinks, you know, that's what that is. And people kind of forgot about tapioca before that, I think. National Insurance Awareness Day. I'm aware that I have insurance. Paul Bunyan Day. He can be seen all over the country. You know all those muffler shops that the giant guy outside holding up the muffler? That's Paul Bunyan and his relatives. That's what they do for a living. National Log Cabin Day. International Caps Lock Day. I guess also known as International Yelling Day. And then June 29, National Camera Day. National Almond Butter Crunch Day. Does it get more specific than that, really? Hug Day, I think that's been called off this year. Waffle Iron Day, not Waffle Day, that's a different day. Waffle Iron Day. And Please Take My Children to Work Day. I guess somebody doesn't want their children around as much. They want somebody else to take them to work. I'm really not sure. Well, let's get into our events from San Francisco history. 3 days to cover. Not going to go into a lot of detail on any of them today. And as we so often do, we are relying on John Ralston's wonderful book, This Date in San Francisco. We'll begin with June 27th, because that was the day that the Bank of Italy opens a head office at 1 Powell Street. A.P. Giannini, the head of the Bank of Italy, is of course well known for saving San Francisco financially, pretty much after the great earthquake and fire, because he took all of his money out of his safe before his bank burned down, the only banker to do that. And so he had the cash to loan after the earthquake and fire. He rebuilt the corner of Clay and Montgomery. The original location is the Transamerica building across the street from the Transamerica Pyramid, now the Church of Scientology. But it was a big deal when he opened this beautiful Market Street location. Let's quote from the book now. This is actually from the Examiner. For 3 days, beginning at 12 o'clock today, June 27, the new Bank of Italy building will be turned over to the people of the city as an institution in which their enterprise and industry have shared, and for their inspection and approval. The key will be delivered to President A.P. Giannini when he turns it in the door. The public reception will be started officially to continue to Wednesday at 1 o'clock. It was quite a celebration. The building is still there, 1 Powell, and it is currently an AT&T store. It's been preserved pretty well, so get in and see that if you get a chance. Well, let's move on to June 28th. And of course, that was Pride Sunday. No Pride Parade this year. There was a protest march. If you didn't see the pink triangle on Twin Peaks all lit up, that was really something to see. But we didn't have the big Pride Parade every year we do, the million people lining Market Street. But the first one was held 50 years ago, not on Market Street. It was actually on Polk Street, and it was called a Gay Inn. It was actually in Golden Gate Park was the Gay Inn, but the early parades did go down Polk Street, eventually would change to Market Street, to what we have today, which is something spectacular. If you've never seen it, and the Countess and I were very disappointed not to be in this year's parade, but we understand that there is a greater good going on, so we stayed at home, but we'll hopefully be back with you again next year. Let's get to our last story, San Francisco story today, and that is the first Mass being held in San Francisco. Let me just get to the proper page here. This was kept in a reading rather from the diary of Lieutenant Jose Moraga, Fray Francisco Palou, Junipero Serra, Father Junipero Serra's pupil, friend, biographer. He would come to San Francisco and perform the first Mass on June 29, 1776. On the 27th of June, the expedition arrived in the neighborhood of the harbor, and the commander ordered the camp halted on the bank of the lagoon called by Senor Anza Nuestra Senora de los Dolores, which is in sight of the Bay of Los Leones and the beach of the bay and the arm of the sea which runs to the southwest. On the following day, he ordered a shelter of branches built to serve as a chapel in which to celebrate the holy sacrifice of the Mass. It is the first Mass was said on the 29th, the feast of the great holy apostles San Pedro and San Pablo, and we continue to celebrate in it, we'll get this right yet, in it every day until the camp was moved. Well, let's get on with our other history, and of course, this is a San Francisco story to begin it off, because on June 27, 1867, the Bank of California opened its doors. That was started by William Ralston, the builder of the Palace Hotel. 1905, June 27, Russian soldiers mutiny aboard the battleship Potemkin and sail for Odessa. Of course, the Potemkin Steps, the Odessa Steps, rather, sequence from that movie, the battleship Potemkin, which portrays all that, is world famous. Hopefully we'll have a picture of it right there. I think we will. Excuse me. 1929, the first color TV demo is performed by Bell Laboratories in New York City. 1929. 1955, the first automobile seat legislation is enacted. Oh, that government telling us what to do. Wear your seatbelts. Wear masks. 1971, Bill Graham's New York rock venue, the Fillmore East, closes down to be succeeded by the Fillmore West in San Francisco. 1972, legendary video game and home computer Atari Incorporated is founded by Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney in Sunnyvale, California. 1981, Betty Davis Eyes with Kim Carnes returns the #1 slot. You know, there's a little known story about that song. It's not well known, but you know, Kim Carnes suffered from cataracts, and she needed a cataract transplant, but wasn't able to find a suitable donor. And then when Betty Davis passed away, she left her cataracts, and they were a perfect match for Kim Carnes. So when she sings that Betty Davis Eyes, she's literally talking about Betty Davis's eyes. And if you believe any of that, I have the deed to the Golden Gate Bridge. I'll sell you for $50. Let's get back to our real stories for today. The United States National Do Not Call Registry was started on June 27, 2003, formed to combat unwanted telemarketing calls administered by the Federal Trade Commission. Enrolls almost 750,000 phone numbers on its first day. It's not working. Sorry, folks. It's not working. Still getting calls, many of them from all over the world. I turn them in every time. I don't know if it does any good, but at least try. Well, let's move on to June 28th. The final draft of the Declaration of Independence is submitted to the Continental Congress. 1820, the tomato is proven to be non-poisonous by Colonel Robert Gibbon when he ate a tomato on the steps of the courthouse in Salem, New Jersey. People used to think that tomatoes were poisonous. Yes, what can I tell you? 1838, the coronation of Queen Victoria. Hats off to all monarchs. 1846, the saxophone is patented by Antoine Joseph Adolphe Sax, therefore saxophone. 1859, the first dog show is held in Newcastle on Tyne in England. 1914, Franz Ferdinand, Archduke of Austria, and his wife Sophie are assassinated in Sarajevo by a young Serb nationalist at 1045. I guess that's what that means. And that's really what started World War I. Franz Ferdinand, by the way, is also a great band. 1919, the Treaty of Versailles ending World War I and establishing the League of Nations is signed in France. 1935, FDR orders a federal gold vault to be built at Fort Knox, Kentucky. 1965, first U.S. ground combat forces in Vietnam authorized by President Lyndon B. Johnson. The biggest mistake of his administration. 1968, Daniel Ellsberg is indicted for leaking the Pentagon Papers. 1969, police carry out an early morning raid on the the gay bar, Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village, New York. About 400 to 1,000 patrons riot against police that lasts 3 days. Considered to be the beginning of the modern LGBT rights movement. Now, check out our show from Saturday if you want to learn more about that. It was not actually the start. There were other times when gay and LGBTQ, and got to get that right, people fought back, in particular one here in San Francisco, the Compton cafeteria riots, which I think, I should look this up, but I believe was 1966. I'll put a correction over there if it wasn't. There were other instances as well, but really Stonewall is considered the beginning of the modern LGBTQ rights movement. It is what we commemorate every year with the Pride celebrations and parades. Many people have forgotten that aspect of it as well, but remember, Stonewall was a riot. In 1971, the Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, overturns the draft evasion conviction of Muhammad Ali. 2018, a lone gunman attacks the offices of the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland, killing 9. Moving on to June 29, 1613, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in London, England, burns down during a performance of Henry VIII. Maybe he didn't like the play. 1927, the first flight from West Coast arrives in Hawaii. It took off from Oakland. 1936, George M. Cohan is the first artist to be presented with a U.S. Congressional Gold Medal by Franklin D. Roosevelt for raising wartime morale, and that's depicted, well, the meeting with FDR at least, is depicted in the Jimmy Cagney movie, Yankee Doodle Dandy, a wonderful movie if you've never gotten to see it. 1967, Jane Mansfield, American actress, and Samuel S. Brody, attorney and Mansfield's then partner, die in a car crash. Let's get into our births, starting with June 27, 1869, Emma Goldman, American anarchist and publisher, Mother Earth. 1880, Helen Keller. 1966, J.J. Abrams, American writer and producer and director. 1975, Don Rickles in drag. That's it. Bianca Del Rio, American drag queen, season 6 winner of RuPaul's Drag Race. June 28th, speaking of Henry VIII, happy birthday. 1926, Mel Brooks. Wow, he's still with us. 1946, Gilda Radner. Never mind. 1948, Kathy Bates. 1971, Elon Musk. 1929, Nelson Eddy, American baritone, is well known for his duets with Jeanette MacDonald. 1910, Frank Lesser, American songwriter and composer, Guys and Dolls, one of my favorite musicals, and Baby It's Cold Outside, he wrote that as well. 1919, Slim Pickens, real name Louis Burton Lindley Jr., American rodeo performer and actor. Oh, wasn't he great in Dr. Strangelove and Blazing Saddles? 1920, American movie special effects artist Ray Harryhausen. 1943, Roger Ruskin Spear, a saxophonist from the Bonzo Dog Band, also makes robots, not well known. 1943, the singer Little Eva, famous for Locomotion. 1944, actor Gary Busey. 1947, funny man Richard Lewis. Let's get on to our deaths. June 27, we start with Joseph Smith Jr., founder of the Mormon Church, shot by a mob at the age of 38. 1996, Alberto Romeo Cubby, Broccoli, producer of the James Bond 007 movies. 2001, Jack Lemmon, a fine actor. I love his tombstone. It simply says, Jack Lemmon in... That's it. 2002, John Entwistle, the bassist for The Who. 2014, Bobby Womack. 2016, author Alvin Toffler. Moving on to June 28, 1836, James Madison, the 4th U.S. President. 1946, Antoinette Perry. Ever heard of the Tony Awards? They're named for Antoinette Perry. 1975, presented for your approval, the death of Rod Serling. 2009, American television pitchman Billy Mays. I don't think he did the ShamWow. I'm trying to know what he was. I think he did the ShamWow as well. He was one of the big pitchmen from back in the 90s, early 2000s. 2016, we lost Scotty Moore, the guitarist for Elvis Presley, dies 84. 2018, American sci-fi author Harlan Ellison. June 29, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, British poet and writer, wrote How Do I Love Thee? I Can Count the Ways. 1933, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. He was a silent movie star on par with Chaplin until he got caught up in a scandal here in San Francisco at the Hotel St. Francis and had to endure 3 trials and was eventually acquitted, but it ruined his career and he died virtually unknown. 1940, artist Paul Klee. 1941, Paderewski, the Polish statesman and pianist. 1978, Bob Crane from Hogan's Heroes, The Bob Crane Show. He was murdered. 1979, Lowell George, a frontman and guitarist for the band Little Feat. 1995, Lana Turner. 2002, Rosemary Clooney, Come On My House. And 2003, one of the greatest actors of all time, Katharine Hepburn. Well, that wraps it up for today's edition. Hopefully the wind did not interfere too much. We'll see when we get into post-production today. Until we see you again, stay safe, stay inside. If you go outside, wear a mask. It's a very, very simple thing you can do. COVID infections are surging, especially in areas that opened up too early. Don't rush things. It's only going to make things worse down the line. We really like things immediately here in the U.S., don't we? No, be patient, people. Don't take unproven cures. Be kind to one another. Until we see you again, gracious, good day.